As a child, I knew bits of Netherton, and one of the bits I knew was where these are the Mrs. Haines. One of them is called Annie, and one of them is called Emmy, Emmeline. We knew them as Annie and Emmy. And they had lived in Springfield with their mother and father. Their father was a great friend of my grandfather, and they lived in Springfield Lane. At some point, I don't know when, they must have, the sisters must have moved to Netherton, and we used to go and visit them. That's my mother and myself, or my mother and my Auntie Alice and myself. And they lived in the most extraordinary place. There was a well-known grocery shop called Harrison's that was in Netherton, in Halesowen Road. And I think the Haines' address was 135 Halesowen Road. And what it was the house which had been wasn't physically attached to the shop. So it was behind the shop. It had all of the sort of dry goods in it. So there was, what I can remember from it is a smell of tea. They were very kind, a little bit eccentric. They had a wonderful garden, which was my memory of it is that it was very big. But that could be a false memory. It sort of sunk down. You had two parallel sets of steps going down. One of them I've described going down to the outhouses and the toilet. The other parallel steps was less steep, and it led down to a big garden that Emmy looked after. That had apple trees and gooseberry bushes and all sorts of flowers in it. And it was completely private, completely hidden, and so unexpected in the middle of Netherton. It was a lovely place. We used to pick apples there in the autumn. And it was always Emmy, who I think is the one with the spectacles in the photograph, on the right-hand side. Emmy looked after the garden. It was Emmy that went out to work. I don't think Annie did. I think now there might have been something a little bit, maybe, I don't know if she was very shy or whether she had some sort of special needs that weren't recognised at the time, but it was Emmy was the more outgoing one. This photograph shows them. Oh gosh, I don't know when that would be. It looks like the 20s. I mean, I thought they were ancient when I knew them, but they might only have been in their 50s or 60s. I really don't know. They were very religious. They were Christadelphians. Their father, I think, had caused them to lead a very sheltered life. They were very kind to me, however, and they used to take me, well, as I say, I used to go and spend the night there. They had the remnants of a big library because their father was a very well-read man, entirely self-taught. If you see the entry about him in the I think it's the 1911 census or something like that, his occupation is down as something like coal picker or something. I mean, it's, you know, it's a very menial job. But then if I were to show you the photographs of him that I have, you'd be surprised. And as I say, he was very well read. When he died, a lot of his library was sold off. And my mother and various uncles bought bits of it. And I've still got some of his books, and also a rather fine edition of the Bible illustrated by Gustave Doré. There was something a little bit unworldly about this pair, and Annie and Emmy. You see, they're both wearing necklaces. These glass beads belong to them as well. I mean, when I was older, I came to mock them because they led this very sort of sheltered, quiet little life. But in fact, they were very keen on things like education and reading. And I think on the whole were a positive influence on me. They inhabited a very small world, and now I feel how sad it was, because they were both, I think as a result of their father, they were both educated and well read, but I don't think they had the opportunities to use their education, which I think was common not just to them, but also to my mother's family, and I'm sure to lots of other people in that part of the world at the time. One of the things Mr. Haines did was he made scrapbooks. He collected postcards, I think to amuse and educate his children. And the pictures in one of the scrapbooks, I think there's a picture of Queen Victoria, but then there's also a picture of whoever came out, was it Edward VII who came after her? So I'm guessing that the scrapbooks are from round about that time. I would love the scrapbooks to go to a good home. And also my bits of jewellery. These bits of jewellery I sort of inherited from the Haineses. I mean, I don't actually know what to do with them. I mean, I don't have children. No one else in my family, my cousins or even my brother, are remotely interested. I don't know who's connected with them anymore. I don't think anybody is. But it'd be very sad to think that, you know, this photo disappeared and that they just disappeared with it.